right, guys, Coach Vic back to talk about what our exercise is going to be today. Jokers are going to get you a Turkish get-up. Now, you can do this with anything you have around your house. You might use a can of soup, one of my favorite things. Everybody seems to have one of those. If you have a small change plate, you can do them with a small change plate. If you have a dumbbell, you can do them with a dumbbell. Usually we see them performed in the gym with a kettlebell, but whatever you have. I'm going to demonstrate it without anything because you could obviously do the Turkish get-up with nothing at all. That would be a perfectly acceptable scale, but it's best if you can hold something in your hand. I will demonstrate it without. If you're doing a Turkish get-up on the right side, you're going to lay back on the ground with that right leg up, and that right arm is going to be up towards the ceiling. If you're holding an object in your hand, say I was holding a kilo plate, I'd be pushing that kilo plate up towards the ceiling as high as I can, and I'd be looking at that object, whatever it might be. Next thing that's going to happen is the left arm is going to go out to the side, 90 degrees, and I'll do this on the other side so you can see that too. I'm going to sit up using that left hand to push myself up to a sitting position. Once I'm in that sitting position, I'm going to pull that core in tight, maintain that lumbar curve, and I'm going to bring my left foot through up to a kneeling position. From here, I'm going to use my core and squeeze my butt and rise up to a high kneeling position, still looking up at that arm, maintaining that object overhead, and I'm going to rise to a full standing position. Now, this is only half of the Turkish get-up because now I must get back on the ground. I'm going to kneel on my left knee, reach out with my left hand to 90 degrees, sit out or bring my foot through, brings me to that sitting position, and lower myself back through my elbow all the way back on flat onto my back. That constitutes as one rep on the right side. On the left side, very similar. Again, reaching up high. My right knee is now raised. My right hand is now out. Am I doing this right? Let me think about it. Yep. I'm going to roll up to my seated position. Now I'm seated on my bottom, raised up, looking up towards my hand, and I'm going to drag my left leg through that seated kneeling position, and I'm going to rise all the way up. In reverse, step back, arm out, leg through, sit on the butt, and back. And then slowly lower that object. That would execute 2 Turkish get-ups. One on the left and one on the right. If you want to do that without an object and you just want to put your hand up, that's also okay. Hand that's up is knee that's up. Perfectly acceptable scale. Great core building, balance building, as well as thought process involved of getting up and getting down to a Turkish get-up. Again, you can use anything you have in the house to execute that movement. Those are jokers, guys. Turkish get-ups, one on the left, one on the right. Hearts. So if you get a numbered heart, say you get a 3 of hearts, you will execute RX version pike push-ups. Pike push-ups are a suitable scale for the handstand push-up. Feet underneath the hips, maybe a little bit wider. Gonna bend over, keeping generally straight leg. Walk out so you're in kind of a modified bear crawl position. Hands are flat on the floor, shoulder width, as if I'm going to do a normal push-up. The idea is that hips are over the shoulders and over the head. I'm gonna relax my head as if I am doing a press, because this is what we're simulating, the handstand push-up. I'm going to drive my elbows back towards myself and drive my head forward to create that triangle that we're looking to create in the handstand push-up. And then I'm going to drive, keeping my elbows in tight. Remember that good pushing position. Drive my hands through the floor and bring my head back up to the start position for a pike push-up. So if you got a 4 of hearts, it would be 4 pike push-ups. In the event that that's too hard for you, it is perfectly acceptable to do 4 regular push-ups. We're still getting the pushing movement, we're still getting the core work, we're just not quite as high. Remember that if that is also too difficult for you, it is perfectly acceptable to do knee push-ups. That's where we're going to bring ourselves out to that nice plank position, lower our chest all the way down to the floor, and then all the way back up for 1 repetition. Notice I'm keeping my core and body tight and not having any worm or wave in my body. In the event that you need another scale, it is also perfectly acceptable to roll ourselves down to the floor and then roll ourselves back up, making sure we come to a good, tight, solid plank before we begin our next repetition. Those are all variations of the pike push-up. You could also, if you were feeling extra vigorous today and you wanted to elevate your feet or even your knees up on a box, an ottoman, a small child, you could also execute a version of the pike push-up. The closer you walk your hands to your object, the more it's going to emulate executing a handstand push-up. Remembering that the pike push-up is a scale that is suitable and acceptable for a handstand push-up. That brings us to the diamond. The diamond's going to get you sit-ups or an abdominal exercise today. You can do any abdominal exercise you like. Our X version is exactly what it says. A sit-up. You'll sit on your bottom, butterfly your feet, bring them in as close to your crotch as you can, and execute a sit-up, bringing the base of the neck past the hip joint to count as 1 repetition. It is absolutely acceptable to use an ab mat if you have one. Remembering that the fat end of the ab mat goes against your bottom. Again, we're going to butterfly our feet. Great thing about the ab mat, isolates the hips, activates the abdominal muscles, all the way back, all the way forward. Again, bringing base of the neck past the hip to count as 1 repetition. Now, if you're a subscriber to Coach Nate, hate sit-ups, it is perfectly acceptable to do bird dogs, opposite leg, opposite hand to a plank position. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, so on and so forth. You could also substitute dead bugs. Lay back on our back, drive our lower back to the floor. Arms and legs are up in the air, very similar to a dying bug. And opposite leg, opposite arm, down to that plank position, back up is 1, is 2, is 3, so on and so forth, are also acceptable substitutions. If you had the ability to do toes to bars, those would be acceptable. Say you did this in a park, or any other abdominal exercise that you could dream up would be acceptable for a sit-up for the diamonds. Those beautiful spades, they're going to get you jumping lunges. Our X version, we start in our nice upright, shoulder stacked over hip, hip over ankle position. And we are going to step out into that nice lunge position so that our toes are far enough out that our knee is over our ankle. Now, in order to get to that first rep, I have to jump and switch. So there's 1, There's 2, there's 3. Being careful with that back knee. Let's not slam them, let's lower them safely to the ground. In the event that jumping lunges is too difficult for you today, that's all right. Feel free to do just stepping lunges. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3. If you don't feel like you've got lunges today, you can always do the good old air squat. Feet underneath hips, toes slightly turned back. We hinge and lower. Hips move first, all the way down, hip crease below knee crease, and all the way back up, constitute as 1 rep. You could also substitute reverse lunges if you wanted to. That's where we're gonna lunge, but to get to our lunge, we're stepping backwards. That would be 1, that would be 2, that would be 3. These are all acceptable variations of the lunge for today's exercises. Grasshoppers. Everybody loves the good old burpee. Sometimes we don't feel like doing a full burpee. For those who are doing the 10K in 2020 with Coach Nate, Coach Snow, by all means, go ahead and do your full all the way to the ground, all the way up for your burpee. Get those burpees for your 10K. For those of you that aren't quite ready for that or don't quite feel like you need to add to your burpee total, feel free to do the grasshopper, which is part of your burpee. We're going to lower those hands down flat to the floor, and we're going to jump back to our plank position. And then, that's not a rep. Bringing those feet back to our hands off the floor in that good sportsman-like position, brings us 1 rep. That's 1, 2, for a total of 2 grasshoppers. Remember, you can always upscale, you can always downscale. Whatever you're feeling today is gonna be fine. In the event that you don't wanna do these full grasshoppers, it's perfectly acceptable to do a mountain climber variation. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to find something in each of these exercises that's gonna work for you today, and then stay with them throughout the whole 26 minutes. Or, if you're feeling like this is a little too easy, it's okay to increase and go a little bit harder. It's also okay to step back and know where you're at in your recovery and go a little bit easier. Looking forward to working out with y'all. For those that are doing it on your own, remember, shuffle those cards well. Includes the jokers, 1 every 30 seconds. And 3, 2, 1, go. Can't wait to see you back in the box.